Hello, and welcome to the weekly HudUniGames cast, coming to you from our home offices once again. Traditionally University of Huddersfield, but Corona is keeping us at home. So my name is Duke, and today I'm joined by Daryl.
Hi.
Matt.
Hi
And
again.
Mick.
Hi.
And today we're going to talk about classic games from the noughties. Let's roll the intro again. That's it, we're in. We're up and running. So who wants to lead off?
I think I'll kick off with it. I think we ended last one with me saying that basically I think we'd started playing PC, or I'd started playing PC games, and I'd got into MMOs at the end of the last one. So for most of the first decade of this century kind of thing, and that I was pretty much playing MMOs, and so I started off with EverQuest, evolved onto EverQuest 2, and then went on to Vanguard, which was basically it wasn't an official sequel to EverQuest and EverQuest 2, but it was by the same company kind of thing on that. And then went on to World of Warcraft. So I spent pretty much most of that decade just playing MMOs. So on the video we've got EverQuest 2 at the top, and then we've got World of Warcraft at the bottom. EverQuest 2 tried to break ground with its graphic technology at the time kind of thing, but they overreached with what was available at the time, and the game ran like a pig on pretty much any PC for the first couple of years that it was out.
You know, I don't think I ever played I've seen World of Warcraft, and I loaded it once or twice really early on, but it just never floated my boat. But then I was never an RPG fan in general, so until...
See, the whole thing with me was I avoided it like the plague because I am an RPG
Yeah,
fan. I figured I'd lose my life if I started playing it, so I chose not to.
Yeah.
Well, World of Warcraft went down the casual kind of route. EverQuest was famous for being really punishing with its gameplay. It's like you died, you lost all your gear, you lost a massive amount of experience that it would take you like another month to regain. Depending on where you died, you had to go back and find your equipment again. So if you died in the middle of a dungeon, you might never get your gear back again.
Wow.
So you might just lose everything. So it was really punishing. EverQuest 2 eased that off a bit, but World of Warcraft went really casual with basically very minimal punishment for doing anything wrong kind of thing.
Yeah, my other half still plays World of Warcraft, and she's not a gamer at all. This is the only thing she'll play.
But yeah, so this is pretty much most of my gaming thing for this decade.
Okay.
I went on to some consoles, but most of my time was spent on PC playing MMOs.
Talking of consoles, PlayStation 2. You know, I never owned a full-size PlayStation. Although we have some on campus, don't we? Some Linux dev kit versions. But for some reason, I never got the Lite. I must have, because I was a PC gamer, I guess. Maybe I joined late, but it's always weird seeing the big PlayStation 2. For me.
Yeah, I was a big PS2 fan. Like, I know you guys basically, you're saying you're PC guys basically, so you didn't play a huge amount. Whereas the PS2 is my getting into gaming, being able to afford my own games now. So going out as much as I can and buying as much as I can. So you've got some like ridiculously good games on the PS2. Like you've got your Metal Gear Solids. Coming back, your Metal Gear Solid 2, which was sort of like pushing, in my mind, what games could be on in terms of they're like movies. They have plots, they have stories, they have emotional beats to them. I know Daryl was saying one of the games that you played a lot was Ico.
Yeah.
And I've heard that a lot. And again, I think you can't not say that is a piece of art. Whereas, I don't know, the PS2 was a really interesting era because you have some of the biggest franchises that we have now appearing there, like properly for the first time. Like you've got GTA 3, which is the first 3D version of Grand Theft Auto appearing. You've got God of Wars, you've got Metal Gear Solid having and we come back. I know I saw in the Discord that if we don't mention Time Splitters, so this is just for you. But also, I played Time Splitters 2 an unhealthy amount. I remember renting the demo of Time Splitters 2 from
That was the one with the
Blockbusters.
monkey in it, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it was really good. And then Duke, you'll back me up on this one. The king of racing games.
Yeah, the only reason I bought a PlayStation 1, the only reason I bought a PlayStation 2, and the only reason I bought a PlayStation 3 was Gran Turismo.
Gran Turismo.
Oh, sorry, and Wipeout. But
Yeah, I was about to say you can't discount
okay, yeah,
Wipeout.
I think Wipeout originally, but after that it was Gran Turismo, all the way up to Gran Turismo 6, I think was the last one I played, and then I was switched to Forza.
Yeah, so I think Gran Turismo 3, in my eyes, is the best of all of them because it's where I spent most time playing, just trying to unlock all, like even doing the Le Mans 24-hour runs, just trying to complete those and things like that.
Did you ever do a full 24-hour?
Yes.
Did you?
I did it once.
Wow.
Yeah. And annoyingly, I got pipped on about 5 laps from the end. I was in first for like half of it, and then just got pipped and then lost.
That's like real Le Mans. Was it 2015, a couple of years ago, where they the lead Toyota, I think it was, finished on the last lap. Sorry, he ran out of fuel on the last lap, I think it was. Broke down on the start line of the last lap after 24 hours. So it happens in real world as well. Very frustrating.
Did PlayStation 2 end up being the biggest selling home console ever?
Yes. I think it still is, unless we beat it. But as far as I'm aware, the PS2 was.
Yeah, I think it still is.
Yeah.
Wow.
But the PS2 is like really popular. It's one of those consoles where everyone pretty much had one, and I think one of the reasons why it sold so well is that it played DVDs.
Yeah. I had the DVD remote.
A lot of people bought it so they could have a DVD player in their house at the time. It was one of the cheapest ways to get one.
Yeah, by far the cheapest, about half the price of the nearest DVD player, I think.
Yeah, so it was really good. And then,
in fact,
multiplayer gaming, like PC gaming had been doing it for a while, but the way that you would do multiplayer gaming more than 2 players was with one of those things, a multi-tap. And it was just, if you go back and think about how complicated it was to get a multiplayer game, you had to have 4 controllers, a multi-tap, a game that could do it, everyone around on a sofa. It was always going to be social experience. It was like it was forced social, essentially.
Tekken Tag Tournament, I think that came out on PlayStation 2.
I had that. That was a launch title. I had that at launch. It was awesome.
You were just talking about the reason to buy a PlayStation being the DVD. Wasn't that the reason to buy the PlayStation 3? It was the first cheap Blu-ray player?
Yeah. So Sony knows how to trick people into buying.
They do, yeah.
The only reason I have a PlayStation 3 is because it is my only Blu-ray player.
So we'll jump forward. I think.
I do want to just mention my favourite PS2 game of all time, and it's probably going to not a lot of people will agree or have played it, but Onimusha.
You're right. I'm not disagreeing.
Yep.
I haven't played it.
By far,
I have no opinion.
My favourite PS2 game ever is. It's essentially Resident Evil, but with samurais and demons.
Cool.
Instead of guns and zombies. So good.
I think we're getting some strange lag going on.
I think
I just noticed that.
Every time you seem to change screens, it lags.
Okay, let's...
It might be the buffering between pages.
Could it be that I need a new PC? I think it's definitely that I need a new
Any
PC.
excuse, yeah, it's lagging like crazy.
Yeah, I think...
Do you want to cancel? Do you want to stop this one? Because this is pretty bad.
It's gone choppy now. I'm reducing as much load as possible. My CPU's only at 50% load on the stream. My internet's at full speed.
Is it your network?
No, network's fine. I have loads of network.
It's running like...
It is, isn't it? Running weird. But this is weird because it was running fine last week.
3 frames a second, looking good.
Yeah. Is this is a bit like being in the 2000s when you missed some drivers or something and everything went really slow. I think it's the load from Chrome. Let me just see what Chrome's doing to my CPU. Oh, ow.
Is it the pulling of the videos?
Yeah, it's pulling all the videos together. Oh, I'm ordering a new PC today. Definitely ordering one today. Yeah.
Okay, we're back again. I think it's every time you go to the next slide.
Okay, yeah, it's loading all those YouTube videos. That's taking the hit. Also, weirdly, I don't know, it's a bit off tangent. OBS is using, like I say, 55% of my CPU, and then the rest is dedicated to Chrome. And Zoom's using 13%. And Lightroom's running. Why is Lightroom running? Okay, we'll kill that. Let's just kill everything. Kill Steam. Kill Notion. Right.
Okay. Well, Tube tries to kill.
Well, it's okay. We're back. We're still frame rate's okay. Let's keep going as we are.
Yeah. We'll talk about the Xbox.
Yeah.
Or as some people will refer to it as the Halo box, is that it was the reason you bought an Xbox was to play Halo.
Weirdly, I never had an Xbox One. I think it was the same problem of being a
I've
PC
also
gamer.
never played Halo.
I've only played Halo on PC.
Blasphemous is.
Yeah.
I loved Halo. I thought it was a beautiful game when it came out.
Yeah. But I think Halo was one of the reasons why I got into LAN gaming as well. Mm-hmm. Everyone coming together, bringing their Xbox, hooking them all up, getting rooms full of lots of Xboxes and TVs, and trying to max out the power supply of a house. Yeah, Halo was awesome. It still is, because of the Master Chief Collection now is on pretty much on PC as well. Even playing it now, it still holds up as a really good first-person shooter. And then I think another reason, talking about the multi-tap and on the PlayStation 2, and that's how you would play multiplayer games. You could link them up on Halo, but we had the introduction of Xbox Live. So this is the Xbox Live launch disc. So to be able to get on Xbox Live at the very beginning, you needed to have this disc. And the little memory unit that used to plug into the controller.
This was
to allow you to get on.
This was Ethernet only, wasn't it? 2001 would have been, unless it was.
Oh yeah. It was Ethernet only. There was no Wi-Fi back then.
There was.
Yeah, I don't think I ever played mine online.
I think the Wi-Fi standard would have been 802.11b. I think, which would have been quick enough for gaming anyway. That was not 11 megabits per second.
Yeah, so like basically, you had to go Ethernet.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Xbox Live, I think, is obviously PC gamers have had it for a while, and with Quake and things like that. But the fact that you could do online gaming really quite easily. All you have to do is have your gamer tag, and then you do voice chat all at the same time. I think it's one of the reasons that the Xbox survived, because the catalog. The games that came out on the original Xbox. Yes, you had Halo. Yes, you had Project Gotham. You had a couple of other really good ones like Ninja Gaiden and Splinter Cell and quite a few others. But it wasn't anywhere near as robust a offering as say the PlayStation.
Well, I mean, I'm just thinking about it now, and I literally only remember Halo. And the Steel Battalion one, and that's the only two that I pretty much remember from it.
Yeah, there are some good ones, but not as many. And so I think it's kind of survived on Halo and online gaming. Mm-hmm. And there's someone in the chat saying that the PS2 had Ethernet. The PS2 only had Ethernet with the adapter, or if you had a PlayStation 2 Slim.
Yeah, I had the Slim, which had the Ethernet port.
Yeah.
Or the Linux dev kits also came with Ethernet port, but was like a thing screwed on the side, wasn't it?
Because I remember getting for the PS2, you could get SOCOM, which came with the headset and the adapter to be able to get online with the PS2. It was so cumbersome compared to Xbox Live.
Do you remember the Duke controller from it?
Oh, the Duke was awesome. I still think the Duke
massive.
Yeah, they re-released it last year, I think.
Yeah.
For PC, and I was going to buy one, but they were really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But I would, if they weren't so ridiculously priced, I'd probably buy Duke now as my main controller because they were good.
I've dropped the bit rate, of our output. So let's hope we're stable on the next Switch. We're ready to go on. Oh, hang on a second. I think we need a slight discussion about this, don't we, Mick?
Oh yeah, this was on Xbox. Yeah, one of the two main games that I remember playing. That. So I spent, I think it was like £220, £230 on this game because it came with massive dual joystick controllers with foot pedals. So when you bought it, it came in like a crate. It was meant to look like a military supply crate kind of thing, whatever. And yeah, so you had to put together this big controller with all these different dials and stuff on it and that, and then sit down, play the game. And the controller was amazing. The game was awful. It's like I could never really enjoy it for more than about 10 minutes. The gameplay, if you look at the thing, it's in a tiny little window. Is most of the game. It's mostly HUD around it. Yeah. But as the HUD lit up and did different things on the joystick controller all lit up and that. It was pretty impressive as a peripheral. But there was only really Steel Battalion that you could play with it. And that's,
yeah. See, I knew a friend that got Steel Battalion as well, so I got to play it. And I thought, oh wow, this is awesome. This is the most amazing thing. But then, like you say, nothing ever used that controller ever again.
Yeah.
Or that I know of. Maybe there was some random one time use for it afterwards. But
I have a Rhino sat next to me, massive, enormous flight stick, and literally I only ever play Elite Dangerous in it.
I think an actual Rhino.
I think Razer have built a similar kind of control thing to that Steel Battalion one. I think for I don't know if is it the new MechWarrior game or something, MechWarrior Online or something. So there's a new kind of like similar controller to that Steel Battalion done by Razer, and it's got like the touch screen in the middle of it and that as well.
Cool. I had a Supreme Commander, talking of weird peripherals, and that was just for playing RTS games like Command & Conquer. It was like a second mouse. So you had a mouse in your right hand and you had this other mouse, but it was locked on a base, and as you moved, that was your map control, and you could rotate the map as well. But it's in the office. It's really cool, but I think it was literally only ever used for RTS games, and that was it.
Yeah, I think actually there's someone in the chat saying the Naught is probably the Steel Battalion, and that was the start of the one-time use peripheral.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
How many times can we sell you a piece of plastic to go with your game?
Yeah, because they started doing all fishing controllers and stuff like that kind of thing. For like one-off games.
Yeah, fishing controls. Okay, so let's move on a little bit further in our timeline.
I think we go into the GameCube.
GameCube, the one I never had.
The GameCube again. I think most people will argue actually the N64 is better, but the GameCube has some really good games. Wind Waker, which was very controversial when it came out for the art style, because I think a lot of people were expecting like a realistic looking Zelda because they released this tech demo. But then you got this cel-shaded, cartoony, cutesy thing, which a lot of people refer to as the Kid Zelda. But actually, I think it is one of the best Zeldas out there. The HD remake is probably the best way to play it now compared to the original.
I think Metroid Primes was my favourite game on Metroid Prime was lovely.
I think Metroid Prime was for me a really good example of first-person shooter storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that you went around the environment, you had to scan everything all the time.
Yeah, I always remember the heads-up display in it was quite elaborate.
Oh yeah, I really loved it when you charged your weapon and you fired. You saw the reflection of the character's eyes in the visor.
Mm-hmm.
And if you went into the snow area, it would freeze up, and you went into the rain, there'd be droplets. It was a really good example, like in terms of immersive gameplay. The fact that you took a 2D game and translated it so well into 3D. Like a lot of people like praise Mario and Zelda for doing that, but I think you got to say Metroid as well.
Cool.
And then I think the other video there that was playing was Resident Evil 4, which was supposed to be a GameCube exclusive.
Such a weird thing watching you sort of like rave about GameCube. I literally only ever played Donkey Konga on it. That was it. We had two sets of bongos whacking away.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only time we ever really used it.
No, I never played Donkey. What's it called? Donkey Konga. Yeah, I never played it.
Another
but
one's peripheral based, so you needed two sets, two to play it, to make it any fun. You needed two sets of bongos. So yeah, it was another thing that it was expensive to set up.
I just like the shape of the GameCube as well, with a little handle on the back.
Oh yeah, being able
Oh, that
to
is
fit-
cute. That is cute. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
But then it had the disc drive, didn't it? That only played the it was like the Nintendo their own format disc kind of thing. Weird.
Oh yeah,
They did.
they were really, really tiny little discs, but they were like tiny little things. I think in terms of that era of generation, obviously you the controller itself, they still sell it now as a controller that you can buy for Smash Brothers. So Smash Brothers basically became a phenomenon because of the GameCube, and then you get tournaments, and most people in tournaments still use the GameCube controller. So I think the fact that people are still using it today says that it was a good design. I know Nintendo is famous for changing their controllers between every single console, but the GameCube one, I think they hit it on the right note there.
Cool. Right.
Getting something quite interesting.
Should we cut some wires?
I think, was there anything new that they added to the game control for that? It's like previous generations, they were quite famous for being the first to add, like a analog stick and stuff like that, kind of trigger buttons.
Technically, analog triggers instead of digital. You had the C stick, which was like dual analog, but not quite. I think it was just a really well-rounded controller, as opposed to adding innovation.
Should we go mobile? Let's take it up to DS. Cut some wires.
So I think we have to pass this over to Daryl, because I never actually had a DS.
Really? Me? Oh no. Well, I don't know. I mean, I had loads of stuff on this, but I couldn't find it. I went rooting for it earlier. I managed to find it. I managed to find that. That was the only thing I managed to find.
Oh, you should have said I've still got my DS.
Somewhere, kicking around. Well, no. The weird part was that I found the power supply. So I've got this thing, but I've no idea where the DS itself
Well,
is.
I might have that power supply off you, because I think I have the DS and not the power supply.
Maybe you stole my DS. So anyway, yeah. I mean, to be fair, the only one that really sticks in my mind that I was obsessed about was the WarioWare on it, which I thought was wonderful, and I was so obsessed about that, as we'll see later, that I had to get that on the Wii when it came out as well. But I don't know. I mean, I've just not ever really, apart from sort of like playing things on mobile phone, not really played things on handheld particularly. It never really grabbed me, and definitely that's the reason I've been very quiet so far throughout this entire period. I was just a PC gamer. I had all these consoles. I had all the consoles. I had absolutely everything. They never got any use.
I think the DS was one of the first ones to introduce a touch screen on it.
Yeah.
So that bottom screen on it is the touch screen, and I think it was also one of the first ones to introduce like a dual screen kind of like layout. I think it was based on the old Watch Games or something. The original Nintendo Game & Watch games, yeah, that was like a clamshell kind of thing on that. So I think they tried to do that kind of thing. But yeah, so it had the bottom screen was a touch screen, and it was one of the first to introduce an actual touch screen on a game console.
See, I think this is where our students in the chat now are starting to pipe up on the games that they were playing as kids. So Nintendogs on the DS, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. They're the sort of things that when you're quite young, a DS is quite appealing. The same way that like the 3DS was the console, and the Game Boy before that was the console you bought kids.
You've just reminded me, actually, Matt, that exactly the reason I didn't get any use out of this is because I handed it over to Rebecca, my daughter, and just let her.
I think, if I remember rightly, I think Professor Layton and Ace Attorney, that kind of stuff started on the DS.
Yeah.
So a lot more puzzly type games with the touch screen.
One of our,
I think.
Go on, Matt.
No,
I was going to say one of our programmers did some pretty awesome work on a DS. So we're talking 10, 12 years ago. He's now at Rockstar. One of their senior, I think he's AI now, but he wrote some he got into the back end of a DS, and he wrote some pretty amazing OCR stuff, so optical character recognition, effectively. So he would write the letters on the screen, and then it would convert them into, be like, oh, that's an A, that's a B, that's a C, whatever. And that was amazing work. For 12 years ago, being able to get in there, not with a dev kit, just a normal one, and write. I mean, that's probably why he's a senior dev at Rockstar now. He was very, very clever.
We're on that sort of thing of who we know and what we know. My mate Steve created Art Academy on this thing as well.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know why my did.
Which I think was one of its biggest sellers. It had a sort of like massive TV ad campaign at the time.
I think the thing with the DS is I still see our students playing with them now.
Really?
They're technically playing the 3DS.
Oh well, okay, but but it's still an iteration of this product line.
Quite surprising.
But no, you see them networking and playing. In fact,
I genuinely thought everything had gone mobile phone these days. I don't really see anybody playing on
I don't think mobile phone can't compete because it doesn't have the physical buttons. You can't play as much as the touchscreen is great, not for gaming because you've no tactile feedback as to where your thumbs and things are on the screen, so you don't know whether you're going to hit A or B because muscle memory eventually. But it's really frustrating to play without physical buttons, and I think that's what's holding mobile back in that sense. But anyway. We should.
I think the reason why I didn't have the 3DS is because of the next slide.
The next slide, yes, I had one of these, which is about to launch. Waiting for the YouTube videos to kill my machine. I've got another window open with Amazon. I'm ordering componentry now. Yes, the PSP.
The PSP, I think, the most awesome, powerful little console ever made.
I mean, what about the Vita?
I think this beats the Vita because the Vita was just an iteration of it.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
This had everything from it introduced the analog nub, which was analog stick alternative, which actually was awesome how thin profile analog stick it is. It had basically PS2 games in the palm of your hand. So when people are saying, "Oh, I'm playing the DS," which is this really cut down, basically Game Boy Advance Plus, and the PSP is like slightly cut down PS2 games, and you had awesome games from Wipeout Pure to Metal Gear Solid to Grand Theft Auto to Gran Turismo, plus some of its own like Papa Pong, and I think that's how you pronounce it, and there was some other really good ones. But the PSP, just from pure technology, hardware, I think is probably one of the most impressive things PlayStation have done.
I agree on that side of things, but what I hated was the proprietary memory. It's at the top there, the UMD discs and that memory stick duo, because you couldn't, it wasn't like you could use a standard SD card or any other USB peripheral. It was so locked down. That was what frustrated me the most, I think, with the PSP.
Everything was proprietary, from the discs that they took, little UMD, tiny little discs, to Memory Stick Pro Duo, Sony's own alternative to the SD card.
Which you also needed those for the cameras.
Oh yeah, these were stupidly expensive. People that complain about anything now, it's like, if you wanted, this is a 512 meg one, I must have paid like easily 50 quid plus, probably more for that. But this is the time where I started getting into as development and modding of the PSP and things like that. I'm doing graphic design work for emulators and things like that you could run on it. I think anyone that had a PSP probably did some kind of modification to it at some point because it was relatively easy. But this is where I was dabbling in wanting to get into games and going, okay, well, how do I do this? What can I look for? Okay, well, this PSP thing's really easy to mess around with. Let's do some graphic design work and mod work for that. So this is, whereas you guys have been doing dev for a long time at this point, I'm just slowly getting into it now and going, okay, well, what can I do with this? And that's where we're going to talk about it later when we talked about things, but Unreal Tournament 2004 was how I started to learn about level design and things like that. So it used to come with mastering Unreal technology, which would then allow you to go into the game, open up the level editor, and build your own levels, build your own environments. So this was me starting out my dev career essentially.
I'm trying to think. Was 2004-5? So for Unreal for UT 2004, would that was UDK, wasn't it? That was Unreal Editor 3 before it became UDK.
Yes.
It wasn't. I'm trying to think what year it was, whether it was 2 or 3. But that was all BSPs then. No importing your own meshes and stuff.
Yeah, everything was BSP back then.
Yeah. Wow. Right, let's see. I'm watching the Twitch stream whenever I do these transitions, and it does really hammer my poor computer. Maybe I should start a GoFundMe.
Well, if yours is... Well, mine crashed last time. We tried to do it on mine. So.
Yeah. I think it's just I'm running 4 screens with Zoom and a PowerPoint thingy, or whatever you call it, Google Drive, and OBS, and everything else, Discord and all the other things running across all the screens. So I think that is definitely my excuse for buying a new PC. What more reason could we need?
Okay. I've just seen Gary saying PS1 emulation. Yeah, you could emulate a PS1 on the PSP real easily.
Could you?
With some really converting your ISOs into BSP files.
Yeah, I don't think I ever did that. So anyway, we moved on to the Wii.
So the Wii is the first ever console that I actually queued up to buy.
I did. Me and Daryl did.
My second. I'd already queued up to buy my PlayStation, my original PlayStation. Yeah, we went to
Tesco's.
Queued up at
what's that? Tesco
Batley.
Queued up at midnight.
Yeah.
Right. I queued up in Montreal.
That's just like the posh.
Yes,
Kind of rudes our story.
It was like -15.
Yeah, it was.
So the first console I queued up for, and I was freezing my nuts off.
See,
we queued inside.
Yeah, we queued inside, and they were really
quite
they were very confused, weren't they? Because there were only 3 or 4 of us in the queue, and they were like, "Why are you all here?"
Initially, it did grow. Initially, there was 3 or 4.
Yeah, that was.
Like, what are you doing? We're getting one while they're available.
Yeah, this changed everything.
You couldn't pre-order, could you? You had to be in the queue.
But this changed so much. Wii Sports was in the top right, and for me, that was just. It wasn't the reason to buy a Wii, although it was the reason I bought one. But like my nan played on the Wii, which she wouldn't play a game, but we got her playing bowling, and people who don't game or didn't game would play on a Wii, and mostly because of Wii Sports, I think.
I've got neighbours that normally wouldn't come in the house, and I don't think I've ever been in the house since, but just wanted to have a go on the Wii. So we had sort of like loads of people sort of almost queuing up in the house to play on the Wii because it was such a revolutionary thing at the time. It's hard to accept how revolutionary it was now, but it was just amazing.
I remember going to work parties and everything, and it was in the corner, and everyone's just playing the Wii all the time, kind of thing, at work parties and that.
And then when the balance board came out, it did even more. It was, it's just a super cool little console, and so cheap as well.
Mine's still plugged into the TV downstairs. I haven't turned it on.
Have yours? Oh,
I haven't turned it on for probably 6 or 7 years, but it's still plugged in under the TV.
Yeah, one of my favourite games on it is the one in the bottom corner, the Raving Rabbids. It was just stupidly crazy, and it was just a game of mini games. So
that's same thing on the other bottom corner is WarioWare. WarioWare Smooth Moves.
I've still got that.
Absolutely superb little game.
Yeah.
So it was all about playing games with other people.
Yeah.
Like, there was hardly any games on it that was meant to be, solo played games kind of thing.
Oh, there were some good ones. Like you had the Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, you had Mario Galaxy,
Red Steel. That was a launch title.
Red Steel, yeah. Yeah, they had lots of good single-player games on it as well, but you are right. Its primary appeal was the multiplayer party, everyone around.
And obviously it became famous as well for people smashing the TV screens as well.
Oh, yeah.
And not holding
the baseball on top right now.
Yeah,
because you had the kind of like block controller, but then you had the little nunchuck as well, didn't you?
Oh yeah,
and
I forgot about that.
like the very first the launch ones. I don't think they launched. They didn't ship with the strap and the little rubber condom to put over the controller.
Yeah, no, they didn't. I had the original. It had the strap, but not the rubber cover.
Yeah, and so once everyone started smashing their TVs with them, they were very quick to say like put warnings on every single loading screen. Is put the strap on, don't let go.
Yeah, no, definitely had the strap, but not the rubbery bit. I never owned one of the rubbery ones, but just the normal ones. And then didn't they launch the white one first, and then the black one came like 6 months later or something? I don't think they launched both colours at the same time.
Thought there was a black Wii.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain.
I'd get that checked out if I was you.
No, it's right. There was.
Yeah, I remember the black version. I'm just watching the Twitch stream as well. Wii Tanks. Oh, I loved Wii Tanks. There's one on Switch called, it's not Wii Tanks, but it's basically that, but it doesn't really work as well as Wii Tanks did. Wii Tanks was awesome.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the controller in the Wii controller itself. That in Silent Hill Shattered something, whatever the Wii version of Silent Hill was, is that you used to take the phone calls actually on the Wii unit.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. You had to put it up to your ear to actually take the calls.
Do you remember the one where you had to blow in it because it was a balloon, I think, and I think it was just a microphone.
Oh, you blew into the mic.
Yeah, to blow the balloons up. Nintendo always do the coolest stuff, don't they, in terms of controls?
There was a really cool game on it as well, set in an hospital where you did all the operations.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
Oh, yeah. What was that called? It's going to bug me now. I can't remember. But yeah,
Someone pop it in the chat. Someone will remember.
Yeah, someone in the chat will know the operation game. Yeah, you used to use the Wii controller to be able to do the slices.
You're pointing at the screen, you're slicing up and then stitching with it and that kind of thing. Yeah, it was good.
Apparently there was a red Wii as well as the black one.
The red Wii was the little Wii Mini, wasn't it?
Definitely get that checked out.
I think the red Wii was. Don't think it had a disc drive or something like that. It came out later.
Okay, are we moving on? It's time for the big consoles now.
So yeah, these are the big. We're going back to Nintendo versus Sega, and now we've got Microsoft versus PlayStation.
Before we do that one, apparently it's called Trauma Center.
Oh yes, that's it. Yeah,
is that right? Was it called Trauma Center?
Yeah,
that's what Ash says, and we believe everything Ash says.
Yeah,
he's usually right. He's probably googled it.
Yeah, possibly. Anyway, go on. Sorry, Xbox 360.
Oh yes, this is where you get your big conflicts of who has the most powerful box. Yeah. Now, I think the Xbox 360 is probably the most memorable thing about it is the red ring of death.
Yeah, which is a great. I'm sure Microsoft loved that. The thing we remember about it is the red rings.
So I got my 360 at launch, and I am now my 360 that I have upstairs is my 4th or 5th 360.
Wow!
I've still got my original one. I never had issues with it.
I sent 3 of them back.
You had about 4 of them.
Yeah, I sent 3 of them back for a replacement, and then bought another one to go after that. And then that died. Then I bought a black Xbox 360 Elite. I think.
Is there a 360 in the cabinet in the office at work?
Don't think so.
No, but there's loads.
No, it's not that if there isn't. Therefore, I still have one here somewhere. I've not.
I can see mine. It's you can't see, but it's there. And the only reason I still have it is for Sega Rally. That's the only thing I ever play on it.
We used to play Crash on YouTube, so clearly had good networking because we used to play games online on this.
Yeah.
I've just seen in the chat. Wrap it in a towel, put it in the cupboard.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I. One of my 360s, I did that, and it did save it for about another couple of weeks. It brought it back to life.
Well, like to be comforted? Is that what you're saying?
No, you just used to. One of the reasons why it was red ring is that the solder on the chips would actually harden and then crack. So you would wrap it in a towel, turn it on, and let it get that hot that the solder would then melt and and reconnect the connections points again.
No way. Yeah. That's insanity.
But looking at my collection of Xbox 360 games, for me it seemed to just be mostly shooters.
Yeah, there were a lot of shooters.
I played Fable 2 quite a lot. My wife really liked Fable 2 on it. But most of the games I played were pretty much shooters. So I think my favourite one on it was Battlefield Bad Company 2.
Oh, that was good.
So I played Bad Company 2 on PC.
Like the destructive scenery and that on it. I just really loved that game.
What was the really beautiful Rayman game? Was it Rayman Legends? Can't remember.
Rayman
really,
Legends.
Oh, that was absolutely beautiful. One of the most sumptuous games I'd ever seen at the time.
Yeah, they did some really good ones. I think you've got your Halos, you've got your Gears of Wars. It was kind of known for its shooters, and it still is now. Xbox is kind of the sports and shooter console for a lot of people. But you had a lot of really other good titles. You have one which I think they should go back and remake or do something with, which was Cameo. Did anyone remember Cameo?
No.
I remember seeing it and never really played it.
It's a really good little platform where you play as different, basically different beasts and different abilities to go through. So that was a good one. But I think even now, I think you can still buy it and it's still being sold. Skyrim. Yeah. Skyrim came out first, obviously, on 360 and PC, and then later on the PS3. And then pretty much everything up to a calculator after that.
Are you saying that Skyrim was this decade?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I keep forgetting how old it is.
No, Skyrim, it's because they keep re-releasing it.
No, but even just the Xbox version is, the Xbox 360 version is beautiful. It's stunning as you walk around some of the landscapes and that.
Oh, no, I didn't get it off the shelf. I've got Skyrim on the shelf just there, like arm's length there, and didn't pull it down because I assumed it was this. Well, not this decade, but within the last sort of 11 years.
Yeah, no, it was actually, when was Skyrim launched?
I have no idea.
It's going to be really hard to find the original release date because it's been re-released that many times.
It's interesting what you're saying about the being known for fighters, and Mick saying about all the first-person shooters, because for me, I can't, or rather really
dislike... Turns out you're wrong, Matt. It doesn't belong in this decade. 2011, you see. You bad boy.
It was at the end. It was at the end of its life cycle then.
I was just saying that I really dislike first-person shooters on thumbs. For me, doing the thumbs, it just doesn't make sense. You turn too slow. To turn.
This is why I've been more or less silent throughout this entire video so far, because I honestly just played PC games throughout this entire decade.
Well, for me, it doesn't make sense because on a mouse you can turn 180 degrees with the flick of your wrist, and on an Xbox or any controller, you turn 180 degrees over the next 20 minutes.
Well, these console games were a break for me from playing my MMOs, and that's why I tend to play more shooters and that on it, is because I've been playing slow MMOs and that, and then just needed something big action.
See, I was still young in this generation. I couldn't afford a gaming PC.
Yeah.
So I was console. And you say you can do 180 with the flick of a wrist. Well, you can do 180 with the flick of a wrist.
I know, but if you were, but you know what I mean. And the other thing that wound me up about shooters on a lot of consoles was the auto targeting. You only have to aim within like 10 degrees and it would still hit. And I disliked that. I always preferred that,
I think we could do an entire video on why PC is better than console.
Oh no, I'd be on the opposite side of that.
It depends what it is. Driving games. I have this here for driving games. I mean, there's the wheel behind me, but it's a pain to get out. So the analog sticks win in terms of driving, but for me, then it's straight back to the mouse and keyboard when it's anything like first or third person. I don't mind actually, but first, I just can't. I don't like first person on a controller.
Yeah, only time. I mean, still to this day, the only time I really I've got a controller plugged in right here, and the only time it gets any hammer at all is fighting games, Tekken. I suppose actually, to some degree, things like Cuphead, whatever game Cuphead is, I have no idea. Platform fighter. I don't know what the hell it is. But yeah, things like that.
I think it would be known as the platform schmuck.
Can I just point out a great comment on Twitch? Aim assist actually allows Duke to hit something. I think I can't really deny that, to be honest. I've never been an FPS. Sorry, I've been an FPS player. I've never been good at FPS. I think.
You have to practice all the time. I got good for about 1 week ever because I basically did nothing for an entire week and practice.
I prefer driving games. So FPS for me is a bit of a like Mick was saying, it's a release from the MMORPG type stuff. For me, FPS is just a bit of jump in, have a bit of fun, whereas driving is the mainstay of my gaming generally.
Yeah, I think the argument with PC versus the Xbox 360 and the PS3 is back then a PC powerful enough to game on was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I've spent
compared to nowadays, where you can get a good gaming PC for like £700. You were looking for what, 2-3 grand easily for.
Yeah, that's pretty much what mine always cost. Yeah.
As somebody says on Twitch, it just works. Except when it red rings,
Yeah.
but when it doesn't red ring,
Yeah.
you just turn it on and you put your game in, and 17 hours later it's loaded.
Yeah.
Sorry, a bit later.
Yeah, and the fact that you could play it on a TV, on your couch, or whatever it was, instead of sat at your desk. And...
I think that's primarily why I always needed to have a PC, because if I wanted to use the TV, it was always being used by somebody else.
But I think also
from the other side of it as well, from the actual development side of it, consoles are nicer to work on.
Fixed hardware, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, trying to deal with all the possible variations on PC, it's a nightmare, isn't it? I think one thing that you were saying about sitting on the couch, one thing that kind of, I guess, proves that true is the shift now for PC gaming, things like, Steam Link and all that, to be able to push our PCs down onto our TVs. Surely that's that.
Do you ever really do that in practice, though?
Only casual games.
It's probably the least used piece of hardware I've ever had is that Steam Link box, and actually my Shield, which again does essentially the same thing. Never use it for gaming. Never.
I do, but only for the casual stuff. Like the more like like Blur, racing type games that are, Blur's dead now, but those quick jump in, have a quick race around, or flight sim type ones. Nothing serious on it. But, I can see its appeal. Being able to play on the TV.
Yeah. I just never liked the idea of going to sit at a desk to game, and I want to be comfortable. I want to relax. I want to enjoy whatever I'm playing. I don't know. I associate desk with work.
See,
that's really weird. I'm exactly the opposite. That's why I don't do any work.
I find it. I prefer, like now I'm sat at my desk in my comfy chair with all of the screens. For me, this is the space I go to play, whereas the TV is where I go to watch a movie or sit with the kids.
Is that as much to do with the fact you've got kids? Or?
No, kids always been like that since for 28 years. I've had a PC space, gaming space. I mean, admittedly, with the girls, I do play quite a lot of Mario Kart on the Switch. So there is some gaming done on the TV, but again, it's that casual stuff. It's not the heavy duty stuff.
Yeah. Well, we kind of went off.
So we did,
off track from because let's get back onto actual proper gaming, and let's move on to the PS3.
Proper gaming, yeah. Yeah, the PS3 was one I bought specifically for Blu-ray because it was the cheapest way into Blu-ray at the beginning.
Yep.
And then I had that massive one on the left, that huge. It was like £550, something like that. It's really expensive. Very expensive piece of kit.
Beautiful looking piece of kit.
It was gorgeous. I sold it to...
It's a lovely looking thing that it's behind glass in a cupboard that I can't see into. So
they're worth nothing now. I struggled to sell mine, got £30 in the end. It's amazing.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I would have given you 32 for it.
I sold it to Chris, Daryl's mate Chris, for £30. I'll have to ask him if he's still got it. Offer him 25 and get it back.
So again, just like the Xbox 360, we're moving into sort of the powerhouse. Yeah. How the Sony and Microsoft sort of going at each other. How powerful our machines are. The PS3 had the cell processor.
I was saying, do you remember all the hype around the cell processor? It's like, cell processor, it's going to be the chip that will fly you to the moon. It's so powerful by itself without an engine.
Well, it kind of was, because obviously when they were doing the launch...
Well, technically they flew to the moon on a pocket.
No, yeah, but this would do it without engines. It was so clever it would beam you there.
Because you had during E3 for the launch of the PlayStation, you obviously had like them doing demos of Spider-Man 2 in real time, so Doc Ock, and then you had the probably famous Killzone 2 demo. Do you remember seeing that trailer of what Killzone 2 will look like? And it was basically just a pre-rendered video of high-end movie quality visual pretending to be a PS2. Yeah. But you can't. The final release of Killzone 2 wasn't that far off it, and actually, the PlayStation is one of the reasons why we have a lot of the technologies that we have now. So deferred rendering pipelines were invented on the PS3 and the Xbox 360, but pushed more on the PS3. Being able to do deferred lighting and proper post-process effects and screen space, ambient occlusion, and all the things that we talk about now to our students about how games are made and how there's technologies that we need to push for high quality 3D visuals. They didn't exist before this point. This is when there was a lot of really fast iteration in the games industry in terms of visual technologies anyway. We had, because this sort of period as well as when you got Doom 3 coming out on PC and then a little bit later on the 360. Doom 3 was the invention of the normal map, which we all take for granted now. That is just a thing that everybody uses. But before this, no one used a normal map. It didn't exist. So I think this is where we can start talking about, from game development, the type of stuff that our students are using now, and they're actually actively doing their assignments right now, ready for submission. They're using the technologies that were invented in this time period. Whereas a lot of the stuff that we've talked about so far, it's kind of that far in the past that they don't really understand what we're talking about. So when Mick's saying he's making sprites with a joystick and there's a little color palette, is that students don't have a clue what the concept of that is. Whereas right now, this is the normal map. And if we're just talking about development, like our students now, they'll throw a high poly ZBrush model into Marmoset and press render, and you get a normal map in a second. Whereas back then, you'd set it all up in Max or Maya, and you do a render to texture, and you're lucky if in a few hours you got a normal map. You'd walk away, and then several hours later you come back and you'd have a look. Did it bake correctly? Yes, it did. Cool. There we go. That's got a thing. So the technologies at the beginning were quite cumbersome, whereas now they're a lot better.
It still amazes me that we're still using null maps after all these years. You know, the first console to use null maps was the Dreamcast, and that's ridiculous. We're still using the god awful thing.
See, PC gamer winning there because Dreamcast ran on Windows.
That's a
It was Windows C, wasn't it?
convoluted win. That. I got another time for our mission. I was just thinking about what I actually play. I do own a PlayStation 3. It's still got it. It's the only thing that's plugged into TV downstairs because, as you said before, it's the de facto Blu-ray player. And the weird part with this is that I think the only game that I've ever really played on it is Tekken 6. I've got a few bits and pieces on it. There's a 3D Wipeout, which you could download, which is cool. But yeah, for the most part, I just didn't use it for games at all.
Yeah. Before we move on, PlayStation 3, I'm going to just hold something up to say. I was there before most people. Demon Souls, before Dark Souls, before the Souls series and Bloodborne. This is ridiculously hard. So if I have pro gamer cred for anything, it's this. Because I beat this, and it was so difficult.
Gary's just pointing out, remember bump maps. Yes, I remember bump maps.
Oh, God, yeah.
Bump maps, how to make your model look ugly in 5 seconds.
Yeah, or as he points out, how to put it in Crazy Bump and go, just should be diffused through Crazy Bump and then go, yeah, that'll do.
Yeah, that's
How many times have we said to students, no.
That only stopped like 3 years ago.
It's not even stopped. We still get students that do it. Do not shove your diffuse through a normal map generator.
Okay, so I think we've got a bit about peripherals next. Are they in particular? It was this time.
Yeah, middle of the 2000s. It was the music game kind of thing, the rhythm game. And it started off with Guitar Hero, I think around about 2006 or something. and then following year Rock Band came out and that. So yeah, you'd buy the game and you'd get the guitar with it. Was the first one with Guitar Hero, and so you're jumping around in your living room trying to play the game, trying to look like you're in a band or whatever. But yeah, and then Rock Band came out and they added more peripherals to it, so you end up with the full drum kit, some not vocals, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was a massive craze at the time.
Well, and it's still around, isn't it? I mean, if our last game jam, Molly and that team, that was Molly, Zoe, I can't remember who else was in the team, but they made they were using these peripherals for their game in the game jam. So even 14 years later, and of course, as you say, start a trend. I mean, Beat Saber's my current favourite for this kind of thing.
Yeah, but at least you don't have to buy a separate peripheral to play Beat Saber. And it just it feels
you
like
have to,
you have
so you have to buy a big expensive VR headset first.
Yeah, but they're so.
Apparently, you can't get Quests at the moment.
Yeah, the thing about VR though compared to this is that a VR headset, it's expensive, but you can play lots of different games on a VR headset. This was like you bought Rock Band and you could play Rock Band. You bought Guitar Hero, you could play Guitar Hero. There's some other examples here.
They were not cross-compatible either, the peripherals.
No. Some examples of Tony Hawk Ride, which came with a big plastic skateboard that you can only play that one game with. There were loads of just random peripheral games in this period. I
mean, I got SingStar Rocks, and there was a thing at the time. Was it called Lips or something like that? I mean, I had no idea whether they were compatible or not. Would you have to buy different microphones to play those sorts of games?
Yeah, I think Lips only the peripherals for that only work with Lips. Yeah, that was one of my wife's favourites as well.
Can I just say thanks to Gary, who's doing some tech support in the Twitch stream. We had one of our first years asking what the difference between bump maps and normal maps were. So anyone who's interested, jump in the Twitch chat. Gary's answering the question.
Yeah, Gary is going into full conversation about what they are.
Excellent, thanks, Gary.
They're all poor man's displacement maps.
That's quite handy.
Bump map was the original version, though, wasn't it? It was like the early version.
Yeah. It's just I've said it a bazillion times, and the students all know that I've said it so many times. I can't believe that displacement maps haven't become the sort of standard at this stage. It's just boggles my mind that we're still using normal maps.
They're too computational heavy still.
Yeah, perhaps. But obviously the processing power. I mean, they've existed such a long time. The processing power. We're off on a tangent, but it's just one of my pet peeves.
Like you can do tessellation with displacement. It is feasible. It is doable, but only on large scale objects because you don't see the performance benefits from doing it on smaller objects when you can just up the poly count, put a really nice normal map on it.
To be fair, the normal map has become a bit more robust over the past 5 to 6 years anyway. So they used to be really quite clunky.
See, I really like, and I think people should be exploring it more. Is the advancement of the normal map, the bent normal map, which is basically a normal map and an AO map combined together. But Unreal Engine 4 supports it, so if any student wants to play around with bent normal maps, go and have a look.
Cool. Right, my machine might actually die now because Daryl loaded 6 YouTube videos into the next slide.
I did. Well, yeah.
Thanks for that, Daryl.
Okay. That's no problem. I think I think we finally get onto PC of the era.
I think you should fund my next PC. Seeing as this,
I'll give you 5 minutes.
This is now. Let's see what happens to the Twitch stream.
It's all going to crash. I'll just talk anyway. I'm sure the audio stream.
It says encoding overloaded in OBS.
Yeah. Okay. Oops.
I think actually, you know what this is? This is. I think I've worked out. It's because all the encoding's been done in software, because the hardware is dedicated to the Zoom chat. That problem where you have to do that. I'll fix it. I'll buy a new kit for next week.
For me, this decade belonged to 2 things, and I thought I'd do it in this order. This decade belonged to playing a tremendous amount of ARPGs and a lot of Valve games. There's pretty much anything that we played on. We used to game most on a Friday night. During this era, I had a small child and a full-time job and was doing master's degrees and things of that nature. So I was quite busy. So my consoles didn't get very much use, but Friday nights, if we weren't board gaming, we were playing something along these lines. And Valve really was the big game changer for us. We've been playing ARPGs a lot and RPGs. And then realistically, I think probably starting with Counter-Strike and then Team Fortress 2 in particular, Left 4 Dead. It just, this amazing stuff. Alien Swarm. I always get Alien Breed and Alien Swarm mixed up. But yeah, they produced amazing games, and the networking just worked straight away. There was no issues. It was one of the first games we started playing where there was literally never a problem with the networking in the slightest. I remember at this time we were actually, playing sort of as a LAN party around Sean's dining room table, and then you used to join in online, Duke, and then we get a bunch of the students playing as well. So they'd be like almost students versus lecturers teams. It was great.
And
I was just thinking, it's like most places where I worked, Counter-Strike was pretty much the de facto go-to lunchtime.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, first 1.6. Although I don't play Go as much as I played 1.6, or even Source versions, sort of thing.
So it was really Source. For me, it's mainly Source than the original version.
But I was going to ask you, Daryl, how many times have you... how did you go on completing Half-Life 2 then?
You're a bastard, aren't you? You really are.
You say Valve games. You've still never completed Half-Life 2. It's those the ant lions.
One day. I just was doing it now. But the thing is, I mean, I keep sort of talking about this, but this is sat here for the next slide. And I've had this since probably 2000. And I have still, I've started it 10 times. I still haven't finished that. I am going to. Well, during this lockdown, I could do with someone to play with, frankly, because it is a multiplayer game. But I'd love to finish Baldur's Gate 2. Baldur's Gate 2 is an awesome game. It's just big and sprawling. And, again, time's been not on my side. But, yeah. Let's get on to Baldur's Gate.
Before we do, I was just going to mention the Valve thing that like Left 4 Dead 2 and Portal and Team Fortress 2 and Half-Life 2, I think that's, other than driving games, that's almost all I played in that decade, because Source Engine launched in 2004, I think, and then they all came within like 1, 2, 3 years of each other, and they all launched very close together.
They were absolutely amazing, just mind-blowingly good compared to anything.
One you missed, Dave Defeat.
I mean, Left 4 Dead as well pretty much kicked off the 4-player co-op genre.
Yeah.
Quite popular now.
Did anyone play? I was the one I played most actually was Dave Defeat, which isn't in your videos. Did anyone else play Dave? Same engine, same concept. No. Dave Defeat was brilliant, really good.
Yeah, as we previously said, I wasn't PC gaming at the time, but thankfully they all came on Xbox 360 anyway. So
I forgot to do that. I got props too, didn't I? There we go. I've got props too. Found these kicking around. There we go. Gonna get it on the PC versions. Look,
see,
PC.
I was in the future and had Steam, so I didn't get physical copies. Anyway, so Daryl wants to talk about. Oh dear.
No, I just found it. I was very excited when I pulled this out, and I just went, "Oh my god, look at all this! Look at all this! It's amazing."
It's the fact that you want to talk about your Torchlight.
Well, it's in order.
So should we all just sit back and let Daryl just take over?
Yeah.
The Daryl show.
This is we'd actually, it predates this because it comes back from sort of like the previous decade. We've been playing Baldur's Gate 1, Icewind Dale, all those Black Isle games, which are absolutely fantastic. This, as I've already mentioned, we were actually just looking at this earlier. It's got this massive box, got maps and everything, but we were looking at the size of the manual for it. Literally, I mean, normally this would be a multi-language size manual. This is all literally in English. It's got all the spells, all the to-hit tables. It's basically a D&D manual in miniature. It's completely amazing. I've never read it, but there we go. But yeah, so there's that, and then of course we were playing. I've just been pulling things sort of like off the shelves from behind it. Probably the last time really I bought physical media for PC games. So Diablo coming on 2 CDs. I found a copy of Dungeon Siege on multiple CDs in a rattly box. But yeah, just this is sort of that era where Diablo 2 kicking it off. It's sort of an action role-playing game. Baldur's Gate from a traditional D&D style role-playing game, and then you had to wait nearly the entire decade before things got sort of like proper 3D. Torchlight and Dungeon Siege coming out in the same year, 2009. But as a lot of my students will attest, I'm a massive fan of the whole art style and look and feel of Torchlight. I think
Are you really?
The use of colour and the use of well, yes, you wouldn't guess, would you?
Since we were playing Torchlight 2 only 3 weeks ago.
I know. It's a bit sad, but there we go.
It's got a real nice art style to it.
We need to prepare ready for Torchlight 3, which is coming out
Oh, I
soon.
know. I can't
I
wait.
can't.
It's like well, I never thought it would happen because obviously once Really Good released Hob, then the studio was closed, and I just thought it would never ever happen. And the fact we're getting a Torchlight 3 makes me a very happy boy. I want to survive this coronavirus just to play that.
Does that we can move on to the next slides?
I think one thing that Daryl brought up there, which actually people are saying in the chat, that has gone the way of the dodo, is the game manual.
Yeah,
Like,
I've still got a load.
Game manuals were really like useful items. I don't know why they got rid of them, other than obviously costs to print
Well,
them.
also the fact you download it, we're going to do send off for it.
Well, no, you still get physical media. People still buy.
I do have kicking around in this room somewhere. There is a huge pile of. Let me just dip out for 1 second.
But for a long time, game manuals were these meaty things that gave you backstory. They gave you
clues,
understanding about what everything was and in the game, and then they slowly transitioned to like a little leaflet, and then eventually it was just here's the warranty.
Download it online.
do you remember the old?
They don't even make them anymore online. They just here's your warranty, and that's about it.
Do you remember the old keyboard layovers you used to get? Those cardboard.
Yes.
I had several of those for flight sims where you'd open up the cardboard piece, lay it over your keyboard, and then it would show you where all the different, sort of like for flight sims where you had loads and loads of keys to remember. And it would have all of them, the overlay type thing. They were amazing, and none of that.
Yeah, they started off on Spectrum.
But PC, but same thing, but the PC versions. But I think that I had some fantastic manuals over the years, and some of them had loads of clues in, and obviously your serial code was on the back. I've got quite a few games where I still own the physical media, and the code is in the manual.
I mean, you can still get some, but they tend to sell them as like special edition box.
You pay a fortune, like 120 quid for that version, don't you? But you get like a weird statue or something with it too, to I guess make it more interesting.
Josh territory.
Yeah.
So I was just going to point out that I do tend to print things like that. But of course, you've played this, Duke. The thing that you have to print out multiple manuals to play.
Oh yeah. I've just got that. Just got that on Quest.
Yeah. So you've got absolutely stacks of them. Yeah. Manuals have not really completely gone away. It's just only when they're essential nowadays.
So if the chat didn't see that, then that was Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes.
Fantastic game.
Really, really good game, and actually a game that you could play in quarantine.
Over Zoom.
Can we?
Yeah, you could do it over Zoom. Yeah.
Over Zoom or Skype or whatever.
Right. Okay. I think you've filled up the rest of the afternoon after this finishes now, Matt.
Yeah, we could. It's definitely something that you guys could play online and stuff.
I can see.
Just get the manual.
My headset's hanging on the wall just there, so I can, and I've got the Quest version, so I can play it on that one now.
Awesome.
I've got to walk the kids this afternoon, so I'll be playing later.
Oh, they can walk themselves. Put them, just stick them.
Remote control car. Anyway, we're now an hour and 10 minutes. We're wobbling on again, Daryl.
Wow.
That's fine.
It's whenever Daryl's in, I'm sure they're longer.
What else have they got to do?
Yeah.
Well, I could talk for about another 2 hours about ARPGs and RPGs.
I'm not sure my CPU would last long. It's already cooking.
We're getting close to having Twitch, whatever it's called, where you get your affiliation with Twitch, and you can get your Twitch Prime subscription.
Well, anyway, let's move on to games Mick worked on.
Right, yeah. So this is early 2000s. So PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube. I think both these games were multi-format. So the one currently playing that's Blue Eye Ninja.
Eye Ninja was really good. What did you do on that? 'Cause I played a lot.
Level graphics and some level design. So I did work mostly on the bomb hub island, and worked on mini games like the section where you take control of like the gun and you fight in the ships and the zeppelins and stuff like that kind of thing.
Cool.
So
what were you using back then at this time period, early noughties?
3ds Max.
So and then for
3ds Max Photoshop.
So traditional pipeline at this point.
Yeah.
I'm guessing everything's hand painted on this still.
Yes.
Obviously, no normal maps or anything like that.
No normal maps. No, I don't think there was even bump maps or anything.
No. Because this is PS2 era, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And then on the other one, that's Catwoman. So on that one, I was doing scenery artwork, and that's who vehicles, walls, doors, that kind of stuff.
So Catwoman the game
Yeah,
probably has to be better than Catwoman the movie
I was just
by
thinking
default.
I think it got slated at the time, the game as well. I think it pretty much was a nail in the coffin for Argonaut. It was such a big project that pretty much all the company ended up on it, and we also ended up with like 100 people from EA as well on it. There was like 300 people working on it.
Oof, that's a big team for a movie tie-in.
Yeah, and it wasn't great. But yeah, it caused a lot of financial troubles with Argonaut and with EA and all that kind of stuff. And then I think the next slide?
Yeah.
What's that one? Let's have a look. Yeah, so this was Argonaut's final game that they didn't actually publish. So are people seeing this slide?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, yep. Yeah, so Urban Chaos, it started out as a game called Roll Call. And I think it got about half done, Argonaut went under. And then some chaps that you'll now know as Rocksteady took this over and ended up finishing it and publishing it. And it was the first game that Rocksteady did. So Rocksteady are the guys that did the Arkham Knight series, Arkham.
Yeah, the Batman Arkham games.
Yeah.
I like Arkham.
So this was their first published game, and so it was on like PS2 and that, and Xbox One. So on this one again, it was like all police cars, ambulances, doors, scenery items is what I was working on at this. At this point, I was actually working from home, and then, like I say, we got the email around one day, and Argonaut had gone under.
So you were quarantining back then?
Well, I'd had enough of living in London. We had a family issue going on, so I moved back up to here. Well, I moved up to Grimsby, and I was working from home for the last year of working at Argonaut. So I ended up being more of a auxiliary artist kind of thing. So, just getting big lists of scenery objects and vehicles and that kind of stuff to make.
Cool. And then next one for you, Prince of Persia.
And then by this point, I'd moved to Canada. I was working at Gameloft. This was, I can't remember if this was Xbox, I think, or Xbox 360. But anyway, yeah, Prince of Persia Classic. So it was basically reworking the original old Prince of Persia game and doing it on Xbox kind of thing and that. And so on this, I was modeling, texturing characters.
I remember playing the original Prince of Persia quite a lot on DOS. I think we mentioned it last week. I never played this version.
So this version was basically taking the original Prince of Persia and skinning it essentially as...
obviously reprogrammed it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, the actual gameplay was the same. So it's a side-on platform game, but done with proper 3D assets.
Yeah, and it looks like the Sands of Time sort of characters instead of the originals.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Lovely.
Cool.
And then from there, I think this next one then...
Sorry, I was just watching the video. This is where my CPU will go a bit...
Yeah. So this is a whole collection of different ones now. I would say that the noughties was one of my most diverse kind of times, and that I did a lot of console stuff. I did a lot of handheld things. So on the side here, you've got DS games. So you've got Assassin's Creed DS. I was working at Gameloft, did that kind of thing, working on that one. And then bottom middle, below the Assassin's Creed, you've got another DS game called Puffin Island, which was like a kids game kind of thing, and that kind of mini games built around like a world hub kind of thing, where you were basically controlling the little puffins and that. And then I did a load of mobile things. So in the middle, you've got at the top Axion 3D, which was on the T-Mobile Sidekick platform. And then below that, Derek Jeter 2007 baseball game on Java mobiles. So these are before you get like
I remember these.
iPhone,
I remember these Java games.
Amazon and that.
Because I think that's one thing we've kind of missed here is, but at the end of the noughties is where you start getting mobile becoming a little bit more prevalent. You're going to get the iPhone coming out. You're going to get the Android series sort of becoming a thing. Windows Mobile are having a crack at doing something.
And the second half of the noughties as well, I'd started doing a lot more freelancing as well. So I ended up doing a lot more smaller projects and just working partly on projects and that kind of thing on that. But yeah, and then the other game on there is one of the worst games I've ever worked on, which is Tenkin Alley 2. And the game was abysmal. And I was tasked with creating like 6 characters, modeling and texturing them, and I had a day and a half each to do them. So literally like 2 weeks to do like 8 characters or something.
So 2 weeks to do 8 characters, and our students have had how many months to do one?
This is all very reminiscent. I decided actually what I didn't do before was I forgot completely that I should have done this. So I'm actually furiously adding an extra couple of slides to the end of this. So,
that won't work.
There you go. And because it won't work.
Once the presentation starts, it doesn't. It takes a snapshot.
If you toggle back to,
dip out.
I'll dip out and back in again. Yeah. Is this the last slide that we're on now?
I'm not sure. It might be. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's Mick's last slide. Yeah, let's just double check. I've cleared the audio for these. Yeah, I have.
Yeah. So I did a lot of varied that decade, and that moved about quite a lot as well. That,
what we're searching for a memory card for? What's that?
Who's searching for a memory card?
Oh, it's okay. The Twitch stream's catching up. That's all right. I was just looking at the Twitch stream.
Yeah. Show flash games. Flash games. Oh dear. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, the late noughties were Playground and things like that. Flash games were taking off, which is one thing we can't actually forget about. Is Flash was the first indie scene for gaming.
Yeah. Well, what about what's that? The one where you fling the penguins. That was huge at the time.
Oh yeah, penguin flinger.
I can't remember what it's called, but that was massive, wasn't it?
Oh my god, chat! What's
paper toss?
No,
paper toss. Let's talk
the
about
penguin
paper
one was
toss.
massive for about a year. It was like the only thing anyone ever played on, and it was all Flash.
Come on, chat! I need to know what the penguin throwing game is called.
And what was the other one? Do you remember Congregate, where all the games were?
Oh yeah, Congregate. It's still going to a certain extent, but not near as big.
Anyway, Daryl, you wanted some extra slides up and running.
Well, I did. I might as well. If Nick's doing this, I completely forgot to do it, to be honest. He's actually what he did. What he was talking, saying, "Oh, this is rubbish that I worked on." So I sort of separated the stuff that I worked on from the half decent stuff to the other stuff that at least got published. So what you got there is you got Spec Ops Stealth Patrol on the PlayStation 1, which I did all that level. That entire level is all me. And then But Ugly Martian, Zoom and Doom on the Nintendo thingy-majiggy GameCube, which was a really nice looking game actually. And then again the GameCube version of Super Bubble Pop. What I've done it actually under the slide is just put in, because Super Bubble Pop, it depended on the hardware. We did Bubble Pop on everything we could. So it started off as a PC game. They brought it as a PC game into the studio and said, right, we want it on everything. So we had to take this gorgeous looking PC game that was completely built around special effects. And I thought the second slide is really sort of going, this is the nonsense that sometimes we have to do. These, I'm quite proud of the stuff I did on those games. The final slide, not so much. So yeah, converting Bubble Pop down to PlayStation 1 was an interesting challenge. I did, I think from memory, just about all the graphics in the PlayStation 1 version. And the Game Boy Advance version, I did definitely all the graphics. And as Mick was saying, all the graphics, that entire game, including reconverting all the characters to work basically it's all 2D. It looks 3D, but it's actually all just 2D sprites. Did the entire game in two weeks. Characters in 1 week and the entire rest of the game in another week. And the one below, because everyone always sort of like takes the mickey out before it, is Arthur's Race and Ride. which I did very little on, to be fair, but it is an absolutely interesting game. Not to denigrate too much. It's a pretty shocking title.
I think the word is bad.
I just used the word shocking, so you might have missed it. It's bad.
Were they all done at Runecraft?
Yeah, they were all done. I only worked at Runecraft.
So for anyone that doesn't, well, people won't know that me and Daryl basically started off at the same company, but a decade apart. So it used to be called Imagitech when I started there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'd look back on it with, sort of like roasting spectacles. I loved my time there. I had a lot of fun, learned an awful lot, did an awful lot of different things, worked on a ton of projects. These are sort of like things I just managed to bolt together in like a few minutes. But usually, because it was a lot of people, I mean, something in the region of 140 people at its peak, but you're working on maybe sort of up to 10 games simultaneously at some point.
It was basically known as like a conversion house, is what it was.
Yeah. I mean,
so you did work on some original stuff as well.
Yeah, the Spec Ops game and the Butterfly the Martians games, I mean, that's why I was kind of prouder of those. They were original titles. In fact, the Arthur game is an original title. It's just a god-awful original title.
Yeti Sports.
Yes, Yeti Sports. I've just loaded it up on another tab. Yeti Sports Pingu Throw. Thank you, chat.
Can I just ask Daryl, is prouder a word?
I just made it up.
Okay, that's all right then. Just checking.
I'm more prided of it.
Okay, cool. Also, I don't know why I didn't notice Daryl's t-shirt before. Great choice.
Oh, thank you very much.
So the chat saying Matt and Duke, in this era, I wasn't in games. Like I said, where I was still learning at this point how to even do anything. And even at this point, I hadn't really even gone to uni yet. So the last half of the noughties is where I went to uni.
And I've never worked in games, which I think I've said many times. I'm an academic.
Yeah, well, outside counts.
I guess producery type stuff. But no, so 2000s I was doing my PhD for the first half, and the second half I was teaching. But all programming. Mostly just programming. All back-end, interesting stuff. But never, rarely for games. It was all just interesting, fun stuff.
Yeah, and for me, all that time Nick spent actually making games for the previous decades. I was working in theatre and as a commercial sculptor, so it's only because I was a sculptor that I got into doing games at all, because they'd gone 3D.
Yeah, but then this next coming decade is where I drop out of doing games for a bit and actually go to university. It's backwards kind of thing.
Totally off about
Whereas I went to university in 1997 and never left. I get my long service award in a few years. That's how bad it is.
That's completely insane. Yeah, the idea that you get your long service award years before I do is a bit bizarre.
Yeah, I'm probably going to be the youngest person ever to get a long service award at the University of Huddersfield, I imagine. Oh, not far off the youngest anyway. Cool. Okay, I think we're out of slides. Yes, the slides are over. My CPU can have a break. I wonder what the temperatures are running at the moment. What do you think? My current CPU temperatures are, oh dear. Luckily, it's water cooled, so it's not so bad. But yeah.
Is it boiling in the?
No,
tubes?
it's more my M2 drive. My NVMe drive's running at 57 degrees. Everything else is only in the 50s, low high 40s. Yeah, right. New PC time after I've walked the kids. Anything anybody wants to add before we sign out? Oh, is there any Twitch stuff we want to add?
Just that we need to play Keep Talking and No One Explodes as soon as possible.
Yeah, there is that, yeah.
Walk your kids quickly.
Cool.
No, other than the fact that I think students could carry on working on their stuff, and we're coming back to after Easter now, so we'll be going back into teaching soon.
I saw a Jenny walk past, by the way, Matt.
Yeah, she walked past very quickly.
Yeah, we university starts next week from a virtual sense, not actual physical return, but yeah, Easter break finishes this Friday, so teaching returns virtually for 2 weeks.
We'll go back into our Zoom sessions. 2
weeks of those, yeah.
And we'll be sponsored by Zoom again, because everything you hear will be Zoom.
Zoom, yeah. Hang on, I just said Zoom. That's Mazda, isn't it? Or was it 2? No, they did 2 Zooms, didn't they? Zoom.
That's Butterfly Martians, it. Zoom and Doom.
Yeah. Anyway, we're rambling. Should we stop there? Unless there's no other questions popping up, are there? No.
No, it's good. So, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
See you later.
Bye.
We'll just do the outro.